Hi, I'm Micah Woods, Chief Scientist at the Asian Turfgrass Center. I'm here with
Chris Trittabaugh, Golf Course Superintendent, Hazeltine National Golf Club.
and
Chris Skronsky, Assistant Golf Course Superintendent, Hazeltine National Golf Club.
we are fixing to take a drive to Atlanta. We're headed west on I-20, and we may talk a little bit about turfgrass. Let's go.
126 miles. Continue straight.
Chris, before this week, we hadn't seen each other since June of 2019 at the KPMG tournament. And I know the greens at Hazeltine have been really good since then. Can you describe some of the maintenance that you've done, and are you doing the same thing that you did then?
Yeah, I think in many ways we are doing similar things. And I think what's changed is the frequency with which we do them, the timing with which we do it. So, that event is a good reference point because our club, Hazeltine National, has hosted over through its history a lot of championships. And so we have a membership who wants that sort of conditioning on a daily basis. That's in large part why they're at Hazeltine. And so our concentration over the past, 2.5 years since that 2019 tournament has really been on delivering results, those type of results, major championship results, if you will, on a much greater frequency than maybe we were doing in the past. And that's just member feedback, what they want. They want to come out, whether it be a Tuesday, a Friday, a Sunday, and they want to play those types of conditions. And so our focus really in that time, and it always has been our focus, but we really in that 2.5 year time period focus on maximizing the number of days under which we're producing those conditions.
And that's something that, if I recall correctly, you've written about in some blog posts that people can find on your Medium site.
That's right, yeah. Series of posts. It's up to 4 posts now. I have one more coming soon. That's going to kind of wrap up the whole series. So, it talks a little bit about, sort of the hows and the whys of that, and really how it comes down to the idea of surface disruption and how we're just trying to minimize the amount of surface disruption that we do in order to provide the highest quality surface performance.
Which is kind of the opposite of what we might have thought, that doing less surface disruption would lead to improved conditions, because I had thought before that sometimes we have to do more surface disruption in order to create the type of surface we want. But looking at the data that you're measuring, it seems like it may be the other way around in your case.
Well, I think many of us have learned that or worked in places where that was the way that we did things, and the way that we managed surfaces was with some amount of disruption on some regular basis. And you can call that top dressing, verticutting, tining, coring, whatever it might be. I think we all learned that those types of things needed to be done with some sort of regularity. And I wouldn't say that there are some of those things we don't do. But I wouldn't say that the idea is to not do them, but it's to find the optimal amount of times to do them and the optimal timing to do them in order to make sure that you're providing, I'm going to use the word again, optimal conditions for your members for, one more time, optimal number of days.
Skronsky, the Assistant Superintendent at Hazeltine, and you've been there for how long now?
I started March 1st of last year, so just over a year.
And would you have thought, let's say when you went to Purdue, is that right?
Yes, I graduated from Purdue University in 2018.
In 2018, and you've worked a few places since then?
I've worked at 2. I was down in Savannah, Georgia at what was formerly known as the Ford Plantation for 2 years, directly out of college. And then I went to work for Chris at Hazeltine National starting March 1st last year.
And it being relatively young in your career, have you, even in your relatively short career up to this point, would you say you've had a bit of a revelation about how good surfaces can be when they don't get regular top dressing?
Yeah, I think every situation's different. But I guess speaking to what we have at Hazeltine, it was almost eye-opening to me that, you didn't necessarily have to do all these cultural practices to get ideal conditions and championship conditions for the membership. Coming into my very first year that spring, I was fully expecting a core and top dress, and Chris came up and said, no core, no solid time, just top dress. And at first I was like, wow, that's different. And then as you go throughout, as I went throughout the first year, I did not see any drop off in playing conditions at all. It was very, very, very cool to see that you don't necessarily have to do everything that, it's been ingrained into us. You have to core, you have to top dress, you have to do it twice a year. I mean, it's been awesome to see something different and something that obviously works.
That's really interesting, and I'm talking about this myself because I'm now 46 years old, and I find this really fascinating and surprising to me that we can get these kind of results, because I would have thought that we need to remove organic matter with coring or with some type of deep verticutting or scarification, and I would have thought that we would need to regularly dilute the organic matter as it accumulates with sand top dressing that's added. I just find it also a revelation to me that the surfaces can be so good just by mowing and rolling. But there's always the concern, how do we make sure that we're not, that a problem is not developing? There's the risk that if we don't do something, that the organic matter may accumulate. And in fact, I was talking with John Kaminsky this week, and he was saying that, well, that's fine, that worked for 1 year, but look, good luck repeating that, guys. He was like, that sure, that anybody can do that for 1 year and it's fine, but eventually he's saying that the organic matter will become too high in the soil and people will have problems and the greens will fail, and then you'll regret that you ever did it. And my question for the two of you, I'm not sure who wants to answer this one, but what are you doing? What measurements are you taking, or what surface performance measurements are you doing to make sure that it's safe to keep having great conditions day after day?
So I guess from the assistant's point of view, we do measure clipping volume every day. We use just a normal 5-gallon bucket with measurements that are on the side to measure volume. And so we go off liters. Every single greens mower will take this out, and then we basically dump our bucket in it. It shows how much clippings that we took out of each green. It goes into a spreadsheet, and then Chris will use that data to just kind of see how the greens are trending and what kind of practices we need to do to keep them performing at their best.
Chris, you said one of your favorite measurements is the stimp meter, and is that something that you think is useful? And is it that simple? You can just measure the green speed, look at the ball roll, and from that assess that things are still under control?
Yeah, I think to some degree it certainly is that simple. But of course, you make a great point in that the concern is something happening that we're unaware of, that is eventually going to catch up with us and is going to put us into a place where now we're having to correct some sort of major problem. So on a daily basis, we're looking at the green speed, the smoothness of the surface, and on a regular basis, every day that we mow, whether that's daily or however many times per week we're mowing, we are, as Chris said, looking at the clipping volume. So those sorts of metrics are telling us what's happening right now, but then we're also looking at the organic matter percentage using the OM 246 method in the top 2 centimeters, 2 to 4, and then 4 to 6. And that's telling us, okay, we're doing these things which could make a person think the organic matter is going to go up and it's going to get higher. But we're watching that. So as we look at it over time, if we see that the trend is up, then we can make adjustments to either bring the trend back down or if we're still really happy with the surfaces, we can say, no, this is the right number for us. Let's just stay there. And that's where we're at right now. We're at a percentage in the top 2 centimeters that is we're comfortable with. The performance of the surfaces is excellent. And so we feel we have an amount of sand that we prescribed and we put out each season. And that keeps us in that window. And so, I don't want this to sound like this is an all or nothing. You top dress, you don't top dress, that's not it. We certainly do top dress, and when we top dress quite a bit. But we try to push that into a window which is least impactful to our membership. And that, for us at Hazeltine, that comes after the golf course closes for the year, and it provides us with some cover and some protection over the winter, and then leads us into the spring. The grass grows up through that sand. And as the season goes on, we get this nice matrix of turf and roots and plant material and sand that really do provide a nice, firm, smooth surface. And we just continue to mow and roll, and we get the type of playing conditions and quality that we want.
That's really cool, and I just think it's amazing that these type of surfaces can be produced with what seems like such infrequent sand top dressing. And you've been doing the OM246 testing now. The first test was, I believe, spring of 2019. So you'd be looking at data from the 2019 growing season, the 2020 growing season, and the 2021 growing season. And you've adapted or adjusted and optimized the maintenance practices slightly each year in response to those results. How has the organic matter changed over the past 3 growing seasons?
Yeah, well, we've seen it go up a little bit from, without the numbers in front of me, I want to say 4.3%, again, in the top 2 centimeters, I think. It went up a little bit, and then the last year in the 2021 season, it leveled off. It was the same from the measurements taken in 2020 to the measurements taken in 2021. It was the same. And of course, there are many factors that go into it, but that was with a prescription of applying 5 millimeters of sand, which is what we did roughly through straight top dressing, and then also a aerification sand injection process. And so that got the amount of sand in that we want. It kept the organic matter at a level that we're comfortable with. And so we know, and then we take that to our daily measurements and we say, okay, let's just continue to maintain the surfaces for surface quality without worrying about performing a disruptive practice with the idea that that's going to somehow help us manage organic matter, create some kind of improvement of the leaf texture, anything of that. We don't worry about that. We've got the speed we want, we've got the smoothness we want. Then we just stick with that.
Cool. Well, is there anything else you'd like to talk about while we're recording this about what you might be doing this year, or anything else exciting that's going on at Hazeltine this coming season? I guess you're still closed up there and be opening when the weather gets right and the grass is ready.
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks or so until we open, and yeah, hopefully we'll warm up a little bit. We'll get a little bit of green up from our turf, and maybe some grass will grow up and around that sand that is left over from the fall. And we'll start out the season with great conditions for our members, and those conditions will get better, and we'll just try to carry that right through the summer.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly exciting, coming off a long off season, to be able to, get golf back. I know I'm a huge golf fan, just a huge golfer, so just any time that, we have golfers out there playing is a good day for me. I'm really interested to see, we have some XGD drainage going in on some of our wet areas. I'm really excited to see all that put in and how we can improve our infrastructure just around the golf course. There are a few other projects with some tee reconstruction that we are doing in preparation for the 2024 USAM. So there's a lot of stuff on the docket this year that I'm excited, and the number one thing is just to get some golfers out there and shooting some good scores.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys for joining me for this car ride and talking a little bit of turfgrass, and I'm really excited to see how the conditions for the upcoming season are on the greens, how those greens perform as putting surfaces, and how the organic matter might change for the next round of OM246 testing. I'll probably write something about that at asianturfgrass.com on my website, where you can get plenty of turfgrass information. And I know Chris has a series of blog posts that you can find by searching for that on any modern search engine. Thank you, and